Microsoft is taking on the federal government in a case that could establish a far-reaching precedent for online privacy. The company wants an appeals court to overturn a federal judge's order issued last year to hand over emails stored on Microsoft servers in Ireland.
Drug investigators obtained a search warrant for the emails. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals must decide whether a warrant issued here in the U.S. can reach data stored in another country. CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid is following the case. Paula, good morning.
Good morning.
This involves a warrant for a single Hotmail email account stored on a Microsoft server in Ireland. All we know is it's about some narcotics investigation. But Microsoft is saying the Justice Department is exceeding its authority. So what's at stake here?
Well, what's at stake here is the privacy and protection of our most personal communications and emails. Microsoft argues that if the U.S. Department of Justice can reach into another country and get access to this kind of information, then other governments, friend or foe, could reach into the U.S. and get similar information, potentially sensitive information about U.S. citizens.
I thought what was so interesting is how the judges responded in all of this, basically saying these are really old laws. And what we don't realize is that there is not a lot governing emails because the laws were written before that.
Exactly. You've hit on the one point that all the parties, the judges, Microsoft, and the government, they all agree this law is antiquated and it's ill-equipped to really handle modern technology or modern law enforcement concerns.
There's increasing tension between the technology sector and the government regarding encryption protection. What's going on here? Why is law enforcement so against encryption?
They argue that encryption, so the messages become scrambled, and unless you have a key, you can't access that communication. The encryption makes it difficult for them to track criminal suspects. It's been a real pet issue for the Department of Justice and the FBI, but privacy advocates say they haven't been able to put forth a single case where, but for encryption, they would have been able to get either their man or their woman. So at this point, it still seems hypothetical.
I think the thing about this case is, on the surface, you think, well, this is so technical. It doesn't affect me at all. There's nothing about this that will affect me. But the reality here is we're talking about who owns all of our emails in the cloud. So how could this ruling really affect us?
It could affect the U.S. and especially U.S. technology companies. There's a lot of money at stake. Not only could foreign governments potentially access your information, but U.S. tech that is currently dominant already took a hit after the Snowden disclosures. Some people, especially in Europe, see U.S. tech as not quite as secure. So a win for the government here could amplify those concerns, and U.S. tech could take a big hit.
It seems like there's a double-edged sword here, because on the one hand, we all want our own privacy protected. On the other hand, we all want the government to be able to track terrorists if they know what they're looking for. So I feel like we're kind of caught in the middle. Is there a middle ground?
There isn't, because even the middle ground that sounds good in principle, in practice it doesn't work. So far, no one's been able to put forth a solution that'll give law enforcement access to this information that won't at the same time potentially give hackers access to our personal information.
So when do you think a ruling could come down in this case, and do you think it's important enough that it could go all the way to the Supreme Court?
We're expecting the appeals court ruling anytime between next month and early next year, and absolutely, I would anticipate that whichever side loses, we'll try to seek the Supreme Court's sort of opinion.
What happens if Microsoft loses, Paul?
If Microsoft loses again, I think it's a real hit for U.S. tech. It amplifies these concerns that if your information is stored with a U.S. tech company, that it's not secure, especially from the U.S. government.
Paula Reid, interesting stuff. Thank you so much.
Very interesting.